the last chapter of It's Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, adapted for young readers, stories from a South African childhood. This is going to be chapter 17. And I noticed that I did read chapter 16 twice. First, it was chapter 15 and 16, and then yesterday I read chapter 16 again. That's all right. You guys can watch one of or both of the videos. Enjoy. So, this chapter is called My Mother's Life. Oh, another thing I wanted to say, I updated the description to the other videos and even to this one. I updated the description. So there's a description of this book in the description of this video. Um, Chapter 17, My Mother's Life. Once I had my hair cornrowed for the magic dance, I started getting attention from girls for the first time. I actually went on dates. At times, I thought it was because I looked better. At other times, I thought it was because girls liked the fact that I was going through as much pain as they did to look good. Either way, once I found success, I wasn't going to mess with the formula. I kept going back to the salon every week, spending hours at a time getting my hair straightened and cornrowed. My mom would just roll her eyes. I could never date a man who spends more time on his hair than I do, she'd say. Monday through Saturday, my mom worked in her office and puttered around her garden dressed like a homeless person. Monday through Saturday, my mom worked in her office and puttered around her garden dressed like a homeless person. That's what he said. Then Sunday morning for church, she'd do her hair and put on a nice dress and some high heels, and she looked like $1,000,000. Once she was all done up, she couldn't resist teasing me, throwing little verbal jabs the way we'd always do with each other. Now, who's the best looking person in the family, eh? I hope you enjoyed your week of being the pretty one, 'cause the queen is back, baby. You spent hours at the salon to look like that. I just took a shower. She was just having fun with me. No son wants to talk about how hot his mom is because, truth be told, she was beautiful. Beautiful on the outside, beautiful on the inside. She had a self confidence that I never possessed. Even when she was working in the garden, dressed in overalls and covered in mud, you could see how attractive she was. I can only assume that my mother broke more than a few hearts in her day, but from the time I was born, there were only two men in her life, my father and my stepfather. Right around the corner from my father's house in Joeville, there was a garage called Mighty Mechanics. Our Volkswagen was always breaking down, and my mom would take it there to get it repaired. We met this really cool guy there, Abel, one of the auto mechanics. I'd see him when we went to fetch the car. The car broke down a lot, so we were there a lot. Eventually, it felt like we were there even when there was nothing wrong with the vehicle. I was 6, maybe 7. I didn't understand everything that was happening. I just knew that suddenly this guy was around. He was tall, lanky, and lean, but strong. He had these strong arms and big hands. He could lift car engines and gearboxes. He was handsome, but he wasn't good looking. My mom liked that about him. She used to say that there's a type of ugly that women find attractive. She called him Abi. He called her Muyi, short for non bullicelo. Abel wasn't trying to be my dad, and my dad was still in my life. So I wasn't looking for anyone to replace him. That's mom's cool friend, is how I thought of Abel. He started coming out to stay with us in Eden Park. Some nights he'd want us to crash with him at his converted garage flat in Orange Grove, which we did. Then I burned down the white people's house, and that was the end of that. From then on, we lived together in Eden Park. One night, my mom and I were at prayer meeting, and she took me aside. Hey, she said, I want to tell you something. Abel and I are going to get married. Instinctively, without even thinking, I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I wasn't upset or anything. I just had a sense about the guy, an intuition. I'd felt it even before the mulberry tree. That night hadn't changed my feelings toward Abel. It had only showed me in flesh and blood when what he was capable of. I understand that it's hard, she said. I understand that you don't want a new dad. No, I said, it's not that. I like Abel. I like him a lot, but you shouldn't marry him. There's just something not right about him. I don't trust him. I don't think he's a good person. I'd always been fine with my mom dating this guy, but I'd never considered the possibility of him becoming a permanent addition to our family. I enjoyed being with Abel the same way I enjoyed playing with a tiger cub the first time. The first time I went to a tiger sanctuary. I liked it, I had fun with it, but I never thought about bringing it home. A tiger cub. Hey, everybody that's watching, thank you for the thumbs up. And if you haven't given me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it if you do. It helps my channel grow. But I want you to know that everybody's welcome. Hello, everyone is welcome here. Gather around and listen to the story and enjoy it. Um, if there was any doubt about Abel, the truth was right there in front of us all along, in his name. He was Abel, the good brother, the good son, the name straight out of the Bible. And he lived up to it as well. He was the firstborn, dutiful, took care of his mother, took care of his siblings. He was the pride of his family. But Abel, with his English name, but Abel was his English name. His Songa name was, okay, give me a second. Ningsaveni, which means be afraid. Mom and Abel got married. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Gather around and listen. This is the last chapter of the book, and it's a really cool story. I remember it. Um, Mom and Abel got married. There was no ceremony, no exchange of rings. They went and signed the papers, and that was it. A year or so later, my baby brother Andrew was born. I only vaguely remember my mom being gone for a few days, and when she got back, there was now this thing in the house that cried and pooped and got fed. But when you're 9 years older than your sibling, their their arrival doesn't change much for you. I wasn't changing diapers. I was out playing arcade games at the shop, running around the neighborhood. The main thing that marked Andrew's birth for me was our first trip to meet Abel's family during the Christmas holidays. They lived in Sanin, a town in Gazankulu, what had been the Tsonga homeland under apartheid. Sanin has a tropical climate, hot and humid. The white farms nearby grow some of the most amazing fruit, mangoes, lychees, the most beautiful bananas you've ever seen in your life. That's where all the fruit South Africa exports to Europe comes from. Wow, that's a lot of emoji love. Thank you. That's so kind. I love it. Look at that. Hello, Beach Noy. Hello, Irel. Hello, Jay. Hello, everybody. Welcome and stick around. Listen to the story and give me a thumbs up if you can. Subscribe if you want to see me again, remember? All right. Um, but on the black and twin on the Black Land, 20 minutes down the road, the soil has been decimated by years of over-farming and overgrazing. Abel's mother and his sisters were all traditional, stay-at-home moms, and Abel and his younger brother, who was a policeman, supported the family. They were all very kind and generous and accepted us as part of their family right away. Songa culture, I learned, is extremely patriarchal. We're talking about a world where women must bow when they greet a man. Men and women have limited social interactions. The men kill the animals and the women cook the food. Men are not even allowed in the kitchen. As a 9-year-old boy, I thought this was fantastic. I wasn't allowed to do anything. At home, my mom was forever making me do chores, wash the dishes, sweep the house. But when she tried to do that in Sanin, the women wouldn't allow it. Nose ring theory. Ah, what do you think about that? I was in heaven. My teeth are clean, right? No makeup on my teeth? Okay. My mother loathed every moment of being there. For Abel, a firstborn son who was bringing home his own firstborn son, this trip was a huge deal. In the homelands, the firstborn son always becomes the father or husband by default. Because the dad is off working in the city, the firstborn son is the man of the house. He raises his siblings. His mom treats him with a certain level of respect as the dad's surrogate. Since this was Abel's big homecoming with Andrew, he expected my mother to play her traditional role too. But she refused. The two of them fought and bickered the whole time. And after that first trip with and after that first trip, my mother refused to go back. Hello, Sayed. Um Up to that point, I'd lived my whole life in a world run by women. But after my mom and Abel were married, and especially after Andrew was born, I watched him try to assert himself and impose his ideas of what he thought his family should be. One thing that became clear early on was that those ideas did not include me. I was a reminder that my mom had lived a life before him. I didn't even share his color. His family was him, my mom, and the new baby. My family was my mom and me. I actually appreciated that about Abel. Sometimes he was my buddy, sometimes not. But he never pretended our relationship was anything other than what it was. We'd joke around and laugh together. We'd watch TV together. He'd slip me pocket money now and again after my mother said I'd had enough. But he never gave me a birthday or a Christmas present. He never gave me the affection of a father. I was never his son. Abel's presence in the house brought with it new rules. One of the first things he did was kick Foofy and Panther outdoors. No dogs in the house. But we've always had the dogs in the house. Not anymore. In an African home, dogs sleep outside. People sleep inside. Putting the dogs in the yard was Abel's way of reining in our independence. He even got upset about church. You cannot be at church the whole day, he'd say. What will people say? No, 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 no. This brings disrespect to me. None of the first, oh, excuse me. One of the most effective tools he used to prevent my mother from spending so much time at church was to stop fixing her car. It would break down, and he'd purposefully let it sit. My mom couldn't afford another car, and she couldn't get the car fixed somewhere else. You're married to a mechanic and you're going to get your car fixed by another mechanic? That's worse than cheating. So Abel became our only transport, and he would refuse to take us places. Ever defiant, my mother would take minibuses to get to church. Losing the car also meant losing access to my dad. We had to ask Abel for rides to Joville, and he didn't like what they were for. It was an insult to his manhood. So I saw my father less and less. Not long after, my dad moved to Cape Town. Abel wanted a traditional marriage with a traditional wife. For a long time, I wondered why he ever married a woman like my mom in the first place, as she was the opposite of that in every way. If he wanted a woman to bow to him, there were plenty of girls back in Sanin being raised solely for that purpose. The way my mother always explained it, the traditional man wants a woman to be subservient, but he never falls in love with subservient women. He's attracted to independent women. He he's like an exotic bird collector, she said. He only wants a woman who is freer because his dream is to put her in a cage. Mm, When we first met Abel, he smoked a lot of weed. He drank too, but it was mostly weed, which mellowed him out. He'd smoke, chill, watch TV, and fall asleep. I think subconsciously it was something he knew he needed to do to take the edge off his anger. He stopped smoking after he and my mom got married. He, she made him stop for religious reasons. The body is a temple and so on. But what none of us saw coming was that when he stopped smoking weed, he just replaced it with alcohol. He started drinking more and more. He never came home from work sober. An average day was a six-pack of beer after work. Weeknights, he'd have a buzz on. Some Fridays and Saturdays, he just didn't come home. When Abel drank, his eyes would go red, bloodshot. That was the clue I learned to read. I always thought of Abel as a cobra, calm, perfectly still, then explosive. There was no ranting and raving, no clenched fists. He'd be very quiet, and then, out of nowhere, the violence would come. The eyes were my only clue to stay away. His eyes were everything. They were the eyes of the devil. Late one night, we woke up to a house filled with smoke. Abel hadn't come home by the time we'd gone to bed, and I'd fallen asleep in my mother's room with her and Andrew, who was still a baby. I jerked away and saw her shaking me and screaming, "Trevor, Trevor!" There was smoke everywhere. We thought the house was burning down. My mom ran down the hallway to the kitchen, where she discovered the kitchen on fire. Abel had driven home drunk, blind drunk, drunker than we'd ever seen him before. He'd been hungry, tried to heat up some food on the stove, and passed out on the couch while it was cooking. The pot had burned itself out and burned up the kitchen wall behind the stove, and smoke was billowing everywhere. My mom turned off the stove and opened the doors and the windows to try to air the place out. Then she went over to the couch and woke Abel up and started berating him for nearly burning the house down. He was too drunk to care. She came back into the bedroom, picked up the phone, and called my grandmother. She started going on and on about Abel and his drinking. "This man, he's going to kill us one day. He almost burnt down the house." Abel walked into the room very calm, very quiet. His eyes were blood red, his eyelids heavy. He put his finger on the cradle and he put his finger on the cradle and hung up the call. My mom lost it. How dare you? Don't you hang up my phone call. What do you think you're doing? You don't tell people what's happening in this house, he said. Oh, please, you're worried about the world, what the world is thinking? Worry about this world. Worry about your family, what your family is thinking. Abel towered over my mother. He didn't raise his voice, didn't get angry. Mbuyi, he said softly, you don't respect me. Respect? You almost burned down our house. Respect? Oh, please. Earn your respect. You want me to respect you as a man? Then act like a man. Mbuyi, shut up. You're not a man, you're a child. Out of nowhere, like a clap of thunder, when there were no clouds. Crack! He smacked her across the face. She ricocheted off the wall and collapsed like a ton of bricks. I'd never seen anything like it. She went down and stayed down for a good 30 seconds. Andrew started screaming. I don't remember going to pick him up, but I clearly remember holding him at some point. My mom pulled herself up and struggled back to her feet. She'd clearly been knocked for a loop, but she was trying to act more with it than she was. I could see the disbelief on her face. This had never happened to her before in her life. She got right back in Abel's face and started shouting at him. Did you just hit me? The whole time I kept thinking the same thing. Abel had said, shut up, Mom, shut up. You're going to make it worse. Because I knew, as the receiver of many beatings, the only thing that doesn't help is talking back. But she wouldn't stay quiet. Crack! He hit her again. She stumbled back, but this time didn't fall. She scrambled, grabbed me, and grabbed Andrew. Let's go, we're leaving. We ran out of the house and up the road as it was the dead of night and cold outside. I was wearing nothing but a t-shirt and sweatpants. We walked to the Eden Park police station, over a kilometer away. My mom marched us in, and there were two cops on duty at the front desk. It's not pre-record, I'm live. You guys, I'm live. This is Miss Carmina Reads Live. I'm Miss Carmina, and I'm reading live. Anyway, um, they went to the police station. Follow the story. I'm here to lay a charge, she said. And besides, you guys, do you want me to be talking to you or do you want me to be reading? This is to listen to the story, so listen to the story. I'm here to lay a charge against the man who hit me. To this day, I'll never forget the patronizing, condescending way they spoke to her. Calm down, lady. Calm down. Who hit you? My husband. Your husband? What did you do? Did you make him angry? Did I? What? He hit me. I'm here to lay a charge against. You sure you want to do this? Go home and talk to your husband. Once you lay charges, you can't take them back. He'll have a criminal record. His life will never be the same. Do you really want your husband going to jail? My mom kept insisting that they take a statement and open a case, and they actually refused. They refused to write up a charge sheet. Hi, Bulbasaur. This is a family thing, they said. You don't want to involve the police. Maybe you want to think it over and come back in the morning. Mom started yelling at them, demanding to see the station commander. And right then, Abel walked into the station. He'd driven down. He'd sobered up a bit, but he was still drunk. driving up to a police station. That didn't matter. He walked over to the cops and the station turned into a boys' club. Like they were a bunch of old pals. Hey guys, he said. You know how it is. You know how women can be. I just got a little angry, that's all. It's okay, man. We know it happens. Don't worry. I had never seen anything like it. I was 9 years old, and I still thought of police as the good guys. You get in trouble, you call the police, and those flashing red and blue lights are going to come and save you. But I remember standing there watching my mom, flabbergasted, horrified that these cops wouldn't help her. That's when I realized the police were not who I thought they were. They were men first and police second. We left the station. My mother took me and Andrew, and we went out to stay with my grandmother in Soweto for a while. A few weeks later, Abel drove over and apologized. Abel was always sincere and heartfelt with his apologies. He hadn't meant to do it. He knew he was wrong. He'd never do it again. My grandmother convinced my mom that she should give Abel a second chance. So we drove back to Eden Park together, and for years, nothing. For years, Abel didn't lay a finger on her. Everything went back to the way it had been. Abel was an amazing mechanic, probably one of the best around at the time. He'd been to a technical college, graduated first in his class. He'd had job offers from BMW and Mercedes. His business thrived on referrals. People would bring their cars from all over the city for him to fix because he could work miracles on them. My mom truly believed in him. She thought she could raise him up, help him make good on his potential, not merely as a mechanic, but as the owner of his own workshop. As headstrong and independent as my mom is, she remains the woman who gives back. She gives and gives and gives. That is her nature. She refused to be subservient to Abel at home, but she did want him to succeed as a man. If she could make him their marriage a true marriage of equals, she was willing to pour herself into it completely, the same way she poured herself into her children. At some point, Abel's boss decided to sell Mighty Mechanics and retire. My mom had some money saved and she helped Abel buy it. They moved the workshop from Joville to the industrial area of Winburg, just west of Alex, and Mighty Mechanics became the new family business. When you first go into business, there are so many things nobody tells you. That's especially true when you're two young black people, a secretary and a mechanic, coming out of a time when blacks had never been allowed to own businesses. One of the things nobody tells you is that when you buy a business, you buy its debt. After my mom and Abel opened up the books on Mighty Mechanics and came to a full realization of what they'd bought, they saw how much trouble the company was already in. Hello. The garage gradually took over our lives. I'd get out of school and walk the 5 kilometers from Maryville to the workshop. I'd sit for hours and try to do my homework with the machines and repairs going on around me. Inevitably, Abel would get behind schedule on a car, and since he was our ride, we'd have to wait for him to finish before we could go home. It started out as, "We're running late. Go nap in a car, and we'll tell you when we're leaving." I'd crawl in the back seat of some sedan. They'd wake me up at midnight, and we'd all drive all the way back out to Eden Park and crash. Then, pretty soon, it was, "We're running late. Go sleep in a car, and we'll wake you for school in the morning." We started sleeping at the garage. At first, it was 1 or 2 nights a week, then 3 or 4. Then my mom sold the house and put that money into the business as well. She was all in. She gave up everything for Abel. From that point on, we lived in the garage. It was a cold, empty space. Gray concrete floors stained with oil and grease. Stained with oil and grease. Our old junk cars and car parts everywhere. Near the front, next to the roller door that opened onto the street, there was a tiny office built out of drywall for doing paperwork. In the back was a kitchenette, a sink, and a portable hot plate, and some cabinets. To bathe, there was only an open wash bin, like a janitor's sink, with a shower head rigged up above. Abel and my mom slept with Andrew in the office on a thin mattress they rolled out on the floor. I slept in the cars. I got really good at sleeping in cars. I knew all the best cars to sleep in. The worst were the cheap ones. Volkswagens, low-end Japanese sedans, the seats barely reclined, no headrests, cheap fake leather upholstery. I'd spent half the night trying not to slide off the seat. I'd wake up with sore knees because I couldn't stretch out and extend my legs. German cars were wonderful, especially Mercedes. Big, plush leather seats like couches. They were cold when you first climbed in, but they were all insulated and warmed up nicely. All I needed was my school blazer to curl up under, and I could get really cozy inside a Mercedes. But the best, hands down, were American cars. I used to pray for a customer to come in with a big Buick with bench seats. If I saw one of those, I'd be like, yes! Um, yes, I am on Instagram, you all. I am on Instagram. It's at Ms.Carmina official altogether. That's my Instagram. Um, all right, let's continue reading. Since Mighty Mechanics was now a family business and I and I was family, I also had to work. There was no more time for play. There wasn't even time for homework. I'd walk home, the the school uniform would come off, the overalls would go on, and I'd get under the hood of some sedan. I got to a point where I could do a basic service on a car by myself, and often I did. Abel would say, "That Honda, minor service." And I'd get under the hood, day in and day out, points, plugs, condensers, oil filters, air filters, install new seats, change tires, sweep headlights, or swap headlights, fix tail lights, go to the parts shop, buy the parts, back to the workshop, 11 years old, and that was my life. I was falling behind in school. Captain Blueberry Muffin is not kind, but if you don't like it, you can go. It's not obligated to be here. I want everybody that wants to be here and listen to the story. Did you hear my answer at Miss Carmina Official on Instagram? We worked and worked and worked, but no matter how many hours we put in, the business kept losing money. We lost everything. We couldn't even afford real food. There was one month I'll never forget, the worst month of my life. We were so broke that for weeks we ate nothing but bowls of morogo, a kind of wild spinach cooked with caterpillars. Mopane worms, they're called. Mopane worms are literally the cheapest thing that only the poorest people eat. I grew up poor, but there's poor and there's wait, I'm eating worms. Mopane worms are the sort of thing where even people in Soweto would be like, no. They're these spiny, brightly colored caterpillars the size of your finger. They have black spines that prick the roof of your mouth, and when you bite into one, it's not uncommon for its yellow-green excrement to squirt into your mouth. For a while, I sort of enjoyed the caterpillars. It was like a food adventure. But then, over the course of weeks, eating them day after day, I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to throw up. I snapped and ran to my mom crying. I don't want to eat caterpillars anymore. That night, she scraped some money together and brought us chicken. As poor as we'd been in the past, we'd never been without food. That was the period of my life I hated the most. Work all night, sleep in some car, wake up, wash up in a janitor's sink, brush my teeth in a little metal basin, brush my hair in the rear view mirror of a Toyota, then try to get dressed without getting oil and grease all over my school clothes so the kids at school won't know I live in a garage. Oh, I hated it so much. I hated cars. I hated sleeping in cars. I hated working on cars. I hated getting my hands dirty. I hated eating worms. I hated it all. I didn't hate my mom or even Abel, funnily enough, because I saw how hard everyone was working. But eventually, I started to see why the business was hemorrhaging money. I used to go around and buy auto parts for Abel, and I learned that he was buying his parts on credit. The vendors were charging him a crazy markup. The debt was crippling the company, and instead of paying off the debt, he was drinking what little cash we made. Brilliant mechanic, horrible businessman. At a certain point, to try to save the garage, my mom quit her job at ICI and stepped in to help Abel run the workshop. She brought her office skills to the garage full time and started keeping the books, making the schedule, balancing the accounts. And it was going well until Abel started to feel like she was running his business. People started commenting on it as well. Clients were getting their cars on time, vendors were getting paid on time, and they would say, "Hey, Abby, this workshop is going so much better now that your wife has taken over." That didn't help. We lived in the workshop for close to a year, and then my mom had had enough. She was willing to help Abel, but not if he was going to drink all the profits. She had always been independent, self-sufficient, but she'd lost that part of herself at the mercy of someone else's failed dream. At a certain point, she said, "I can't do this anymore. I'm out of this. I'm done." She went out and got a job as a secretary with a real estate developer, and somehow, between that and borrowing against whatever equity was left in Abel's workshop, she was able to get us the house in Highlands North. We moved to the workshop. We moved. The workshop was seized by Abel's creditors, and that was the end of that. Hello, Parth. Growing up, Growing up, I suffered no shortage of my mother's old school Old Testament discipline. She spared no rod and spoiled no child. With Andrew, she was different. He got spankings at first, but they tapered off and eventually stopped. When I asked her why I got beatings and Andrew didn't, she made a joke about it like she did with everything. "I beat you like that because you could take it." She said, "I can't hit your little brother the same way because he's a skinny little stick. He'll break. But you, God gave you the bottom of, for whipping. That bottom for whipping." Even though she was kidding, I could tell the reason she didn't beat Andrew was because she'd had a genuine change of heart in the matter. It was a lesson she'd learned, oddly enough, from me. I grew up in a world of violence, but I myself was never violent. Yes, I played pranks and set fires and broke windows, but I never attacked people. I never hit anyone. I was never angry. I just didn't see myself that way. My mother had exposed me to a different world than the one she grew up in. She brought me the books she never got to read. She took me to the schools that she never got to go to. I immersed myself in those worlds, and I came back looking at the world in a different way. I saw that not all families are violent. I saw the futility of violence, the cycle that just repeats itself, the damage that's inflicted on people they turn when they in turn inflict it on others. All right. I saw more than anything relationships are not sustained by violence but by love. Love is a creative act. When you love someone, you create a new world for them. My mother did that for me, and with the progress I made and the things I learned, I came back and created a new world and a new understanding for her. After that, she never raised her hand to her children again. Unfortunately, by the time she stopped, Abel had started. I was in grade 6, my last year at Maryvale. We'd moved to Highlands North, and I'd gotten in trouble at school for forging my mom's signature on some document. There was some activity I didn't want to participate in, so I'd signed the release with her name to get out of it. The school called my mom, and she asked me about it when I got home that afternoon. I was certain she was going to punish me, but this turned out to be one of those times she didn't care. She said I should have just asked her. She would have signed the form anyway. Then Abel, who'd been sitting in the kitchen with us, watching the whole thing, said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" Then he took me to his tiny room, a walk-in pantry of the kitchen. Oh, he took me to this tiny room, a walk-in pantry off the kitchen, and he closed the door behind us. He was standing between me and the door, but I didn't think anything of it. It didn't occur to me to be scared. Abel had never tried to discipline me before. He'd never even given me a lecture. He was always, "Mbuyi, your son did this," and then my mother would handle it. And this was the middle of the afternoon. He was completely sober, which made what happened next all the more terrifying. The first blow hit me in the ribs. He, I'd never learned how to fight, but I had this instinct that told me to get in close. I had seen what those long arms could do. I'd seen him take down my mom, but more important, I'd seen him take down grown men. Abel never hit people with a punch. I never saw him punch another person with a closed fist, but he had this ability to hit a grown man across his face, an open hand, and they'd crumble. He was that strong. I looked at his arms and I knew, don't be on the other end of those things. I ducked in close and he kept hitting and hitting, but I was in too tight for him to land any solid blows. Then he caught on and he stopped hitting and started trying to grapple and wrestle me. He grappled, he grabbed the skin on my arms and pinched it between his thumb and forefinger and twisted hard. That hurt. I had never been that scared before, ever, because there was no purpose to it. That's what had made it so terrifying. It wasn't discipline. Nothing about it was coming from a place of love. It didn't feel like something that would end with me learning a lesson about forging my mom's signature. It felt like something that would end when he wanted it to end, when his rage was spent. It felt like there was something inside him that wanted to destroy me. Abel was much bigger and stronger than me. Oh my gosh, I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this chapter in time, you all. We're gonna have to do a second reading of this. Abel was much bigger and stronger than me, but being in a confined space was to my advantage because he didn't have the room to maneuver. As he grappled and punched, I somehow managed to twist and wriggle my way around him and slip out the door. I was quick, but Abel was quick as well. He chased me. I ran out of the house and jumped over the gate, and I ran and I ran and I ran. The last time I turned around, he was rounding the gate, coming out of the yard after me. Until I turned 25 years old, I had a recurring nightmare of the look on his face as he came around the corner. I ran like the devil was chasing me. Abel was bigger and faster, but this was my neighborhood. You couldn't catch me in my neighborhood. I knew every alley and every street, every wall to climb over, every fence to slip through. I was ducking through traffic, cutting through yards. I have no idea when he gave up because I never looked back. I ran and ran and ran as far as my legs could carry me. I was in Bramley, 3 neighborhoods away before I stopped. I found excuse me. I found a hiding place and excuse me. I found a hiding place in some bushes and crawled inside and huddled there for what felt like hours. Poor Trevor. You don't have to teach me a lesson twice. From that day until the day I left home, I lived like a mouse in that house. If Abel was in a room, I was out of the room. If he was in one corner, I was in the other corner. If he walked into a room, I would get up and act like I was going to the kitchen. Then, when I re entered the room, I would make sure I was close to the door. He could be in the happiest, friendliest mood. It didn't matter. Never again did I let him come between me and a door. Maybe a couple of times after that, I was sloppy and he'd land a punch or a kick before I could get away. But I never trusted him again, not for a moment. Yeah, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it right here. And hopefully we'll be able to finish this chapter tomorrow. Thank you for reading with me, everybody. Whether you're on the live or on the replay, thank you for reading with me. Come back tomorrow. I read from 1 to 12 Pacific time. I'm in California. Everybody is welcome to listen to the story and read with me. Um, Stay safe and keep reading. Love y'all.